Hey there and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for being here. I'm here with Brittany, who you may or may not have already seen depending on when we're putting up this video.
Have you ever worn this as like off the shoulder? And that one too?
Actually I might do that right now. There you go.
Yeah, that looks so cute.
Brittany and I have been sitting here for probably an hour after getting lost in the woods.
We did, we got lost.
Yeah. And nothing felt right, so we're just gonna talk about
We're just gonna do what we want to do.
Yeah, talk about like being body positive, how we got there, ask each other questions.
Yeah.
Just like be friends, because
Let's just be friends.
I mean, like not forced.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Okay. If there was like a specific age where you feel like you started becoming a lot more confident than you've ever been.
Yes. Not to give my ex-boyfriend credit where it is not due, but I think I met him about when I was 23, something like that. And prior to him, I had a lot of insecurities, it was like a theme my entire life. And when I met him, he was the first person I ever dated who was like, it wasn't just like, well, he might like my body. He had made it very, very clear that he liked my body. And one of the major reasons, like I talk about this a lot, but I think that like, it's not just as simple as I hate myself because I'm fat. There's so much underneath that. There's like a lot that you have to break down.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you have to break down. And for me, it was definitely, I don't like myself because I feel like being fat means I won't ever find love. No one will ever desire me. And so when I met him, it really allowed me to challenge all of the other things that I felt negatively about myself. It's like, okay, well, if somebody out there loves me, not in spite of the fact that I'm fat, but in this case, because I was fat, he actively enjoyed my body. It made me like really wonder what else was out there, wonder what I had been telling myself all along, and that like kind of pushed me off into the like path, or pushed me on the path that I'm now. What about you?
Yeah. I think similarly in a sense of like, when I was 19 is when I found like the fat community or like the different like websites and stuff. And that's when I started challenging the fact like, oh, there are people out there that find other bodies and just thin bodies attractive.
Right.
And it blew my mind because like you were saying, I thought because I was fat, I wouldn't find love. Like no matter what, I would not find love. I would not be viewed as sexy. I would not be able to enjoy myself. I would not be successful. You know, like I wouldn't have these things because I'm fat. So seeing a community and like seeing people that were fat or bigger than me and have confidence or like had people that enjoyed them or, you know, had support systems, like had this life that I thought was only allowed to have for thin people.
Exactly.
I was like, it just like opened my mind. I was like, what? Like I can be a happy, successful, confident person and be fat? Like,
exactly. So many people immediately view being fat as like a death sentence in a lot of ways, like, or just like you might as well write off love, you might as well write off enjoyable
like you're
sex.
not worthy.
Yeah, and
it.
it's amazing how just discover, and I would never say put your confidence in someone else's hands, because I think that for Brittany and I, it was allowed us to discover ourselves and like rethink.
It opened a perspective that
rethink
I didn't
how
even know
we had
was
been
there.
talking to ourselves. Yeah, for sure. And so I would never suggest for anyone watching this to go date a person.
Feel like they need validation.
Right. I mean, like it's eventually about finding that validation yourself.
Yeah.
It's about figuring out yourself.
Right.
And it is powerful to realize that you're not
sexy just the way you
unlovable.
are. Like you'll be successful.
You're gonna meet people who love your body. You're gonna meet people who hate your body, even as a thin person.
Yeah.
And that
people criticize everybody, like all the thin, perfect society, like approved celebrities. They get so much hate.
There is no way that you can win with everyone. Absolutely no way.
And the only person you have to win with is yourself.
Yep. You could, I mean, I think Dita Von Teese said you could be the ripest, juiciest peach,
Jupiest.
but there's still going to be someone out there who doesn't like peaches. What do you think was the most powerful lesson you learned about your body and like existing in your body?
I mean, kind of what we're already saying, like no matter who I am, what I look like, what size I am, people are going to love it, people are going to hate it. You can't please everybody, you know, like you really can't, and you shouldn't have to. Nobody's perfect. That was powerful, actually, like realizing that nobody's perfect and being okay with the fact that, okay, like I don't have to be perfect to be able to be like perfectly me, like to be confident and happy in who I am. I don't have to be perfect.
Right.
and accepting that I'm not, because everybody is different, opened up a lot of different doors for me that were closed, because I was like, no, like being perfect meant to me to be thin along with other things. But then once I realized I could be who I envisioned was perfect despite what my body looked like, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
perfection doesn't exist. I can just be me and be happy with it, and like be perfectly myself, you know?
And like one idea of perfect doesn't exist yet. Like I think that was what really helped me. Like,
What I envision as perfect
Right.
is different for you. So it's
Exactly.
like that's a good point.
Yeah.
And someone that was thin,
Yeah.
their perfect, like their sense of perfection could be to be bigger, you know?
Exactly. And I have a friend like that. I have a friend who, she's always been very, very petite. And by the way that I viewed it, she's always had men who've like, you know, wanted her, always had lots of friends, lots of approval from lots of people. And I always envied her, but she looks at my body and envies me because she's someone who can't gain weight. And she's always loved like the physique of a larger woman, or just like thick thighs, you know, thick arms. And that's always something she's loved.
Yeah.
And to hear someone say that to me too, because when I met her, I was very, very insecure. And to hear her say that, I was like, are you crazy? Like, someone who
Right,
would
because
want to look
you
like me?
felt like you've had to be shamed your whole life.
Yeah, by all means, being a existing as a thin person is nowhere near existing as a fat person. I think like you have totally different existences, but like I don't think. Yeah, it was just amazing to discover that. Like that one, there's no consensus on what perfect is,
Yep.
and to try to find out what that is not going to exist.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So you're going to exhaust yourself, and you're going to have a shittier quality of life.
Seriously, I actually had a friend once who she used to describe herself as like flawless, and I'm like, well, you're not flawless, like nobody's flawless. And that was like to me like a great way of looking at it. I was like, every person has flaws. And she's like, well, when I say that, I mean when people look at me and see flaws and stuff like that, like why do they have to be flaws? Like
Exactly.
why do my large arms have to be flaws? So when I say I'm flawless, I mean
Like, there's no such thing as
there's
flaws.
no such thing
It's
as
just
flaw.
characteristics.
Like, it's just who I am.
Just because I might not be as organized as Sarah or something, that's not a flaw. That's just who I am. You know.
Exactly.
It's like
it's just
just
it's
makes
you.
you.
Exactly. I have a question. So, I have a strong opinion on this, but I'm interested to hear yours. Do you think there is such thing as being too confident as a fat person?
Too confident. The only way I can see that being toxic is like if you're to a point where it's like you're not open to other ideas. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so for example,
Like cocky confident?
so
I'm just confused.
No, I'll explain. So I was watching a video, and I can't remember which one it was, but she was explaining confidence and how it's great to love herself. She still has insecurities, whatever, which is fine. Like, I think that's fine. You can still totally have insecurities even if you're confident.
Absolutely.
But then she went on to say that she was confident, but not too confident, and that she's not like, oh my God, I have no flaws, I'm perfect, blah, blah, blah. She's like, because that's too much. And what I felt from that was, and I've had someone say this to me before, and I was like, wait a minute. I feel like to exist in a fat body already means you're kind of like put in a little box of how you're supposed to exist. And to tell someone, well, you shouldn't hate yourself, but then to tell someone who loves themselves that they have like a cap on how much they can love themselves, it makes you feel like, where are you supposed to exist? And again, it goes into the, well, how am I supposed to please everyone? And I feel like, yes, there are obviously ways that you can be like narcissistic, but I don't think that
I don't think that has to do with confidence, though. You know.
Right, but like when people describe it as, well, don't be too confident now, because that's definitely how I've carried myself in a lot of ways, and I've had people come at me for that, like, well, you're too confident, you love yourself too much, and it's like, so wait a minute,
That's
like,
toxic because like you can love yourself as much as you want. You can be as confident as you want. And if someone has a problem with that, I feel like that just reflects on that person. Like I really dislike when people put limits on other people, like she's confident but she's too confident, or she changes her hair too much, or whatever. It all lends to the same. It's just criticism.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
If you could give one piece of advice for the person watching this, what would it be?
One piece of advice. Don't be too hard on yourself, because you only have one life to live, and you have a choice of living it to your best quality of life or not. And that quality of life can be encompassing everything about yourself. Like, just give yourself a break. Like, the way you are is perfect the way it is. There's no, you are perfectly perfect, perfectly imperfect,
Yes.
perfectly yourself, whatever you want to say, like, just live your life. Like, don't care what people think, because everybody has an opinion. Like, you like colors I don't like. That's it. Like, we're all just colors under the rainbow. Just, like, be who you are, be a good person. Like, don't be out to hurt somebody, but just be you. I know you said one piece of advice, and I just gave 500 pieces of advice.
That was like
but just, like,
collective advice.
Yeah, just be you. Just be you. Lay off the hate and question yourself if you find. Thanks. I was just getting so intense.
For it. No, that's what you should be.
If you find yourself like thinking about things in a negative way, question why you're doing that. If you find yourself like, ew, I don't want to try that, or ew, that person that, like, stop yourself. Question it, because we've been taught these behaviors, so the only way to get through that is to unlearn them. And you know what, like, even like I'm getting a lot better because I'm checking myself, but like before I would like look at girls or guys or whatever and be like, why are they wearing that? Why are they doing that? And then I just started like checking myself, like, why do I care? Like, that girl looks good in that. Like, why am I all of a sudden threatened by her? But that's also,
But
like,
even if like you don't think that she looks great in that, why does it matter to us?
Yeah.
I do.
Like,
I've
it's
done
an
that
opinion.
too, and I think that in some ways so I think like an important thing to remember too with confidence in general is like it can always appear like someone's got it, and once they've got it, they have it forever. It doesn't exist like that. Like, you're gonna feel confident some days, you're gonna feel like crap the other days.
Oh, yeah.
And
some days you're gonna feel so confident on some days, and then like the next you're gonna be like, how did I feel that way? I feel like crap today. Like, that's normal, you know?
sure.
And like even being aware that you can feel confident but like feel like you're not today, that's okay too. Like,
exactly.
everybody has
And I think
days.
that like it's really hard to live in our time where social media is so accessible.
and there's scrutiny everywhere.
Yeah, and you can go on someone's webpage in a second who seems like they've got it made. They have no bad days. And I was catching myself doing this like a lot, even like recently, where I was comparing where I'm at, how I feel about myself, even like my skills, like how I dress, my makeup skills, all this stuff. And I just felt like I was like literally like just overwhelmed with all these negative thoughts about how I wasn't as good as like so-and-so and they do it better. And it's like, wait a minute, like I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. I need to stop comparing myself to what I'm perceiving them as. Like, they're just like, and this same person can be looking at me feeling the same thing. I need to make sure I'm checking my thoughts. Like, so the one piece of advice I would have is, you know, confidence is hard work. It's going to be hard work your whole life. Just because you have
effort.
it once. Yeah. It's constantly like checking the way you're talking to yourself, the way you're talking to other people, like you were saying, the way you think about other people. And even if you have negative thoughts, try not to hold yourself, like, try not to be too hard on yourself for that, because it's important to recognize we all have it. The most important thing, and the thing that you should be proud of, is that you're aware that you're having that, and you're trying to, you know, rewrite the dialogue that you currently have in your head. Like, you're trying to make sure that you're checking that as much as possible, in my opinion. Like, it's so easy to look at someone else's journey and think they've got it and you don't, and you're not doing it right. And like, the way that it worked for me is maybe not the same way it worked for Brittany, and maybe not the same way it'll work for you. You need to find your way, and that's the most important thing.
Not everybody's path is the same.
Yeah.
There's lots of little paths in those woods that we just got lost
that we
in,
got
and
very lost. And we tried to go on someone else's path, and that's why we got lost.
Yeah.
But I think that's everything. It's getting kind of cold out here too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's everything for this video. You can find part 2 of all our like body positive discussion on Brittany's channel. And yeah, don't forget that you can find new videos from me every Wednesday and every Sunday. No, yes, right, yes. Bye.
Bye.
I think it's probably been a solid year since I ordered something, but I kind of decided recently to go back and just see what it's like, see if things have changed. I was actually browsing their website and came across a lemon dress, and I couldn't say no. I risked it. I risked it because I had a coupon for, I believe, $30 off, again with free customization, and I was able